Guys, and welcome to today's video. So for today's video, we are doing yet another challenge. What's different about this challenge though is that it is a sparked challenge. So if you don't know what a sparked challenge is, it's basically a challenge that comes directly from The Sims. It is not a user challenge, so it's not someone else that plays Sims creating this challenge. This challenge comes directly from the Sims themselves. So when you're in the gallery, you actually have an option to submit directly to the Spark Challenge, for example. And it is definitely something that I will be doing with this house. I spent a lot of time on it, but I was just having so much fun building it. The basic challenge is, it is called the Golden Age Challenge because it is a house for your elder Sims. So when I was building this house, I was imagining that this is a house that these Sims have lived in for a very, very long time. I was kind of thinking that it was maybe built around the 30s or 50s, and they probably bought it around the 70s or 80s, give or take, and they've been putting a lot of love into the house, but not in a monetary fashion, and we'll get into that a bit later. So it's a house where they've built a family, they've lived their whole lives as a couple basically, and it is a house that really exhibits their passion that they share together. So it is something that I purposely tried to edit out as much of it as I could, and I think I succeeded in it until the very end. So it's going to be a surprise, so just sit tight and wait and come with me on this journey and we'll see it together. As far as the layout goes, I made it quite closed off, I guess you could say. And I did that mainly because being an older home, before open concept wasn't really a thing that you would see in as many houses as you do today. So from that side, what I did is I made it very closed off, and instead of doorways, I put archways. So that is something that maybe along the way they took off the doors or they simply always had arches. That is something that I will leave up to your own imagination. As far as the color scheme goes though, it is very, I wanted to say retro, but it's not really retro. It's just more of what I always think of when I think of like my grandparents' house. That it was always a house that had seen many, many years, but wasn't necessarily very updated. And that is mainly because money was spent elsewhere, or they didn't really think that the walls or floors were something that they really needed to invest in. Here is when you get the first little sneak peek of what is going on. So this pantry is basically a fake. They have a fake door and they have a fake pantry, so none of their kids really suspected very much what was happening with their parents. And yet they always had a little secret that they've never told their children, and I don't think they ever will. And going back to the color scheme, for example, I know some of you are going to hate me for choosing this yellow, but it was so bad that I loved it. Going back to the choices, I feel like it's something that a lot of how people don't really take priority when they're renovating that. They'll probably change a fridge or a stove, but if it's perfectly functional, they wouldn't really change it, and this is a mentality that I thought the Sims that lived in this house would have. It is very much function over fashion, and the house is more on the fancier side, mainly because they filled it with family heirlooms. It's all stuff that they've accumulated throughout the years, maybe stuff that they got from their own parents. So these elder Sims are definitely living their life, living out their golden years, and they've just really been enjoying doing what they're doing. So you can see that the kitchen is actually fairly big, but it is not something that you would call over the top for a house of this age. I want to consider it at least. It's something that is actually, yes, on the bigger side, but I wouldn't consider this a mansion by any means. It only has 3 bedrooms, And it is a very well-rounded house, but again, I just wouldn't really consider this a mansion at this point. Now, the color scheme was very yellow. I really liked the yellow on the outside of the house, and I thought that maybe Grandma. Oh, did you see that? You got a little sneak peek. But I thought maybe Grandma would like some of that yellow to come inside as well and try to decorate everything as colorful as she possibly could. And here you can see that in the living room, I actually ended up putting pink couches. It wasn't really what I was thinking it was going to be at first, but once I was going through the couch swatches, I actually fell in love with the pink. This house is just so bad, it's good, and I love it. I just love how much of it reminds me of grandparents and how much of it is like, yes, this was probably inherited. It probably wasn't something that they've always had, or it's definitely a house that you can feel like they've accumulated stuff throughout the years. Now, upstairs is an area where I very much feel like maybe their grandchildren or their own children were very much nagging them as to why they didn't have a TV or a computer. So there is that area upstairs, and it always gives you the option if you want to have your sim be a writer, for example, or if you want to have your sim be a programmer. They could be, who knows? So this area in the front, it's just a closet. I unfortunately don't have any other packs that have that 2x2 closet. But what I was thinking with it is that you could always put laundry in there if you do have the laundry pack. It is an area that is a bit versatile in that sense, but it is only a 2x2. I guess you could only always move the bathroom to the 2x2 and then take the 2x3 and put something else in there. It is not a pack that I have to put it in this. This is a completely base game home. I do use some debug items, but that's about it. And yeah, that area I thought would fit probably a laundry pretty well since I do end up putting some hampers. And if you need a third full bathroom for some reason, the bathroom downstairs you can always fix it to add a shower or a tub. It's a 2x3, so you have plenty of space to play around with in there. As far as the lighting goes, I did have the saucer lights at first, and that was mainly just to be able to actually see the house. I wanted to be able to see where I was putting stuff, basically. But I didn't think it really suited a house of this age. Since I mentioned I figured that this house would have probably been built somewhere between, I believe I said 30s to 50s is what I was imagining. But definitely a lot earlier in the 1900s is what I'm trying to get at. And yes, there is some lighting here and there, but in places like the hallway, I don't think they would have invested money in trying to get wall lights or ceiling lights, I'm sorry. They probably would have kept the wall lights the way that they are. And I felt like it just added to the charm of the house. I feel like between the wallpaper and the lighting where it is and some of the furniture and some of the decorations, I feel like that's what really gave this house its years. With some other packs, I believe it was in the vampire pack. There could have been like wall tears, for example, or there could have been even like some damage on walls from water or whatever. They do have some stuff that you could have used to give the house its years. But as I mentioned, I don't really have those packs, so I didn't think I was going to be able to get away with trying to say, oh, this is supposed to be here and this is supposed to be there. I really built this just thinking of base game and what you have available in base game. So you can see even here in the bathroom, it's tiles that I've never used before and tiles that I feel like they really suit an older home. It's something that you could also use in a variety of different styles of houses, but I really liked how it all came together with the different wallpapers and whatnot. If you've seen a lot of my other builds, you know that I typically build very modern, I would like to say. It's a lot of whites or a lot of plain or a lot of very solid wall coloring. So I would put like one solid yellow wall, but that's about it. I wouldn't really experiment much with wallpapers or flooring or different decorations or even trying to get like colors that I don't really think fit together, but it's probably just the way this house was built and they never bothered in fixing it. So it was something that I really, really enjoyed in this house. I kid you not, it probably took me around 4 hours to build this house, and I enjoyed every second of it. You can see me even here just playing around with posters and whatnot. I was just enjoying it. I really like thinking of the age of the house and all the memories that this house probably had. This would have been one of their child's rooms. I originally thought it was probably a boy's room, but honestly, it could be either or. And the second room is actually a twins room. It was going to be originally a single bedroom, but it was so big compared to the other bedroom that I thought it might as well be a twins bedroom. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it's twin girls, it could just be twin whatever. But I really like the idea of having a table for them to be able to do their homework and their own little area. I feel like sometimes rooms in Sims are way too big, so that's about a good size. Now here, we're very, very close to exploring the secret. I don't think I ever mentioned it, but basically this challenge has a few rules, and it is to make a house that is for your elder Sims, first of all. And second of all, you need to showcase one of their hobbies. I thought maybe to do gardening hobby, but I feel like I do that a lot in my houses. And then I went into debug and thought about doing like, oh, maybe they could have planes or maybe they could have cars or something like that. But their secret runs a little deeper than that. Here I started with some landscaping, and as you saw there, I just skipped through it. I feel like landscaping is something that takes up a lot of time, and it's also something that saves a lot of time when making the video, since I don't feel like you would like to sit for a few minutes straight of me just figuring out how I want to do the landscaping and where I want to put it. But it is there nonetheless, it just isn't shown throughout the whole build. And with that, we are almost there. I know I've said it several times, but this time I am serious. You might have seen a few things here and there of a satellite, for example, and a security camera that they hid in one of the hanging planters. So I'm really excited to show you this part. I definitely thought of this as being a house where the Sims are just your lovely neighbors and they have a lovely family. You wouldn't think that they would ever do anything out of the ordinary. They probably just garden here and there and they love seeing their grandchildren. And that is all you would think of them until you take a closer look at their house. And I felt like this was something that their children never really questioned. Their children don't know about it, their grandchildren don't know about it. But if you took a closer look, it wouldn't take you that long to figure out what was actually going on here. So, welcome to their basement. Here is their dirty little secret. Now, I feel like a lot of people went for more traditional hobbies, since I feel like a lot of people probably would have gone with like gardening or maybe music or something like that. Now, I feel like the grandparents actually met because they were thieves, probably tried to steal from one another, and then ended up falling in love, bought this house, built a basement, closed it off, and made sure that only they knew about it. So I really had a lot of fun just looking through and seeing which type of items would be like really expensive to try to steal, for example, or which items would make at least some sense in here. Because again, this is all completely base game. So you can see that there's a lot of crates. Who knows what's in those crates? They had fun stealing it, and that's all that mattered. The pianos and the music instruments, for example, were something that maybe one day they just heard that they were very expensive and they bought it. So they're really not short on money at all. They have literal piles of money in their basement. They've just never wanted to spend it in their house because they felt like that would probably give away their hobby. And obviously, it's not something that is very legal, so it's not something that they should be broadcasting. And at the same time, remembering the age of this house, I was thinking, oh, it would be great if all of their gear was more on the retro side. So they have like high tech security cameras, but they have like retro spy gear and retro things in here in general. They even have a bat right next to one of their stations. So you better be careful with grandma and grandpa. If you get too close to their secret, they will bust your kneecaps. But we are getting close to the end of it, and I just want to say that this was by far one of my favorite challenges. I felt like this hobby in particular was really out of the box when you consider what you have available with only base game. But, anyways, we're now in screenshots, so thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope to see you on the next video.